Hello, everyone. I'm Guillaume. This is...
I'm Rob.
And today we're going to have a conversation between us about rugby, but not so much about the rebrand of rugby, although that will play a little role today, but the intent behind the rebrand and what we really wanted to achieve and how we really wanted to engage a brand new audience and using an identity, which was a necessary update, how it then unlocked lots of new different opportunities for the brand, the league, the fan base, and where we would like to take it into the future. So this is just to start with. This was kind of our lens we like to kind of appraise all our work through. Truthful, memorable, noticeable. Now, truthful is truthful to the people working on the project, the brand, truthful to the audience, and truthful to the people we want to speak to in the future. Memorable isn't about being louder. It's actually creating memory structures. So when people see the brand or experience the brand, they kind of recall something, and it builds that familiar content with them. And finally, noticeable, notoriety. How do we create something that people want to talk about and want to share in, and so that we can become famous? So this was our kind of basic lens that everything that we do for the league came through.
We've made that word noticeable even more noticeable by spelling it wrongly.
It's still a spelling mistake. We had changed this, sorry. So the challenge was a what-if challenge, actually. We were challenged to kind of look at the identity of the league and where it might head. But actually what we wanted to do was something completely different. And the way we like to appraise things is like, what if it was something else? And the opportunity here was a big what if. For us, it wasn't about just changing identity. It was actually, what if we were an entertainment brand? What if we acted like a Netflix? What would we be able to do, and how would we be able to act? And what would then the content be that we produce? What if we were a festival? What's the experience that fans have during the course of the entire week, not just at the weekend? And maybe, what if we were a tech brand and we were launching products like an Apple? How would we show up? How would we broadcast ourselves? What is that content? Where does it show up, and why? So it really started with this big question. But actually, we had something already. We have entertainment week in, week out. And so entertainment brand felt like the most obvious step that we would like to take forward. So what we wanted to do was completely reimagine rugby. Not just for the current fan base, but for the future fan base. And it needed a full reimagination, because rugby is an old sport, really very much set in its ways.
Yeah, that's right. So my background was originally in the drinks industry, and then about 11 years ago I moved into sports, into cricket, and worked on a thing called the 100. But even in my time in drinks is a great grounding for working on brands, because you've got a lot of similar products and you have to find a story for them. And drinks is a great industry for reappraisal. And that's the approach that we took on the 100, but it's also the approach that we look to take on PREM rugby, because, as Guillaume says, rugby is an established sport, and it's quite an establishment sport in lots of ways. It's also, I think there's a big issue with sport generally, that often sport lacks imagination. It just keeps doing what it's always done. And rugby has some incredible aspects to it, but a lot of them are built around quite traditional aspects. So respect, values, and these are great. They're powerful attributes for rugby, and they're important attributes for rugby. But what we found in our research was actually these attributes are not acquisition factors. So they don't bring people into rugby. If you're inside rugby and you love rugby, then the values, the respect, they're really powerful. But if you're outside rugby, they can sometimes feel exclusive. And what our research demonstrated, for a lot of sports fans outside rugby, it felt like they were not welcome. Rugby was not for them. So we really tried to lean into what made rugby appealing to not just existing fans, but also our new audiences. And what we landed on was this idea around physicality. Like, rugby's had some high-profile challenges in the last 5-6 years, but when it came down to the brass tacks, what did people want from rugby? Whether you're an existing fan or whether you were a new fan, you wanted physicality, you wanted jeopardy, you wanted athleticism, you wanted incredible skill under pressure, but you also wanted, when rugby is at its best, these entertainment factors, so spectacle, narrative, extreme athletes. And I think we looked at ourselves fairly honestly and said, are we really delivering these at the moment? And we felt there was more that we could do.
So this was the challenge we were set. It was actually moving from 1.8 million people engaging with the sport every week to 3.8 million people. We can't do that with the current existing audience. So we needed to kind of unlock a new audience. And that audience was a stretch audience. People who were engaging in sport, but yet hadn't chosen their second or third sport that they wanted to participate in. People who were lovers of entertainment, lovers of engaging with superstars, lovers of the potential this league had, but yet hadn't yet discovered it. So we had to start speaking to a much broader cross-section. This is rugby reality at the minute. It is male, female, family, but you had to speak to a lot more people. These are the avid lovers, but we need to speak to a broader fan base as well. And if we didn't do that, we could never meet the commercial objectives, and we couldn't actually grow the sport or create the content which is relevant for the people in the future. So this was the strategic positioning that we landed on. A ferocious game played on the edge. Ferocious because of everything that Rob's discussed. It's physical, the rivalries, the huge collisions that happen on the pitch. And for us, it was not shying away from this. It's actually embracing what the sport's all about. Because there's always a tension, like, should we lean into it too much? Or can we actually just talk about what's really great about the sport and why people actually watch it? And on the edge is really critical. It speaks to the fans who are watching and engaging in the stadiums, at home, and on broadcast, but also speaks to actually what the league is achieving. Week in, week out, most games come down to the final few minutes. So there's tension, the tries, the anticipation, the fans on the edge of their seat. So this became the vision for everything that we created moving forwards, through the brand, through the identity, through the content we wanted to make, through our partnerships, through every single touch point moving forward. Our strategic point of view that we live by. Now, this doesn't go out in the outside world. This is very much an internal thing, but actually it becomes a lens for us to kind of deliver against.
And we knew we were onto something because we'd begun speaking to Red Bull around this time, and Red Bull described rugby and their aspiration to get into rugby as the coming together of mainstream sport and extreme sport, and it just felt like a real sweet spot for us to lean into to deliver some wider brand appeal.
So I'm going to quickly walk you through some of the creative thinking that led from this, because it was, in part, a creative journey. So what we wanted to do is, like, well, how do you depict ferocity? How do you depict energy and movement and the action that happens on the pitch? So some of the very first creative thoughts was actually like breaking up the game and understanding what's actually happening on the pitch and where it's happening, and actually speaking to some of that kind of energy. How could we really throw all the old stuff out and actually think about it in a completely different way? Fractured, kind of disparate, and something actually really quite organic. Now, what we got to was actually this idea that there's a lot of energy that happens on the pitch, and ferocity could be really linked to adrenaline. A lot of adrenaline now. I'm nervous as hell. But what happens in the crowd base? What happens in the fan base? What happens on the pitch? What's actually happening everywhere? That could be depicted as kind of this energy flow. It could depict as ferocity. So we started to explore this concept of heat maps, really looking at what's happening on the pitch, really taking this organic flow and pattern that allowed us to create a vehicle to communicate through, and then really lean into that kind of fractured language to speak to all the pockets of action and guide people on their journey to engage and watch the content on screen. But this is not enough. We needed to build a brand that had touched all touch points. And as an entertainment brand, what does this sound like? Does it sound like heavy humans hitting each other, or does it sound like tension, adrenaline? So in the initial proposition, we created a piece of music. Stop it there, it goes on. But the point is, it was like, what could rugby actually be? What is that run out? How do we create a theme for the entire league that supports ferocious game played on the edge? So ultimately it wasn't used, but it gave us a guiding light, it gave us some steer of how we could show up across all the touch points and all the channels going forwards. So this is what happened. This was what the brand was. It was more of an organizing body. It was more of a corporate identity. It did its job, but it didn't speak to the new growing audience. And what we did, we changed it. Didn't change it by almost not that much, people say. We dropped 7 letters. But actually what we did, we made it bigger. We made it bolder. We made it work with our title sponsor, who was critical to kind of the longevity of the league. We added a roughness to it, which might feel very simplistic, but actually spoke to the really raw, unpolished beauty of the game. And that was one of the kind of words that we were using quite a lot. It's like, this game is not the national team level. It's not England. This is the day-in, day-out league. This is rugby from the grassroots all the way up to the top. And it isn't polished, but it is beautiful. And there is collision. So a strong, bold mark that helped us move forwards. That combined with a pattern and energy and some more sophistication, created something that we started to kind of really understand and use. The blue represented our title sponsor, but there had to also represent a lot of other things moving forwards. So we created documents, but this had to live elsewhere. It can't live in a document in a deck. So we had a plan for launch, and we launched this a year or so ago. Yeah. At TNT, and we decided to just put some bold messages out into the world to explain what was coming and what to expect and what to get excited about. Really, really simple language and really, really simple images that spoke to the potential of the league and the potential that was about to come. And what we really wanted to do is focus in on superstars, heroes, and people that they may have not yet discovered, but people will be discovering in the future.
Guillaume mentioned TNT, and I have to say that we wouldn't have got to where we were without the collaboration that we got from our broadcast partner. Too often in sport, governing bodies dream up a brand, but they've not sold it across the rest of the broadcaster or the distribution partners. And bringing TNT in early, making them part of the process, helping them understand the insight. And I remember a meeting that we had with them at their office where they basically said, look, we love it, we're all in, and they were true to the word, and they just embraced everything that the brand was all about.
So the point of this is that brand is now consistent. It shows up regularly everywhere. I'm going to quickly show you the launch film. It was an internal launch film at TNT, and I'll show you then what TNT did with that content. But I think it just builds and shows you what the intent was, and then we'll speak about actually what's happened since. So quite a move on from the initial intent. Really importantly, what Rob mentioned is we needed broadcast to take this on, and we needed a place where we could show it regularly. 93 times, 93 games broadcast on one channel. So we have an amazing partnership with TNT and ITV as well. And this is what TNT then did with the identity. They kind of really understood it. So the brief was to focus on the superstars, the individuals, the characters of the game, and the results are pretty amazing. Not because of the brand, but because of what the potential now we can do with it.
Yeah, we've had a fantastic year in terms of content, and that's been a big investment for us as well. So we kind of trebled our investment in content because rugby was behind the curve. It wasn't speaking enough to younger generations. It wasn't building enough stars. But our YouTube numbers are up 500%, and they're still growing. Some of the social numbers are off the charts because we're finally generating content that reflects what people want to see from rugby. So we're in a good place. We've got a great relationship with TNT, but also with Whisper, who do our production, our content, and our social media. And it's been a massive step change, so much so that our whole new strategy is built around this proposition. So we want to be the best league in the world. That doesn't necessarily mean the biggest or the most rich, but it does mean the most innovative. It does mean the most audience-focused. And our pillars are around full houses, because we believe that full houses, people in the ground watching rugby, are so critical to the whole product, not just in attendance, but also for what people see on their screens on TNT and on ITV. Getting that FOMO, wanting to be there, and the energy at some of these games has been off the charts. But the other thing has been around players, so continued investment in players. What you're seeing now from stars like Henry Pollock, that's not by accident. That's taken an awful lot of work behind the scenes to change rugby from a sport where our coaches, our directors of rugby would not allow access to talent because they felt that it would put them off their game on the Saturday, to a world where they actually understand the importance of allowing us to build superstars.
And the content goes broad now and wide because we want to engage people on the Monday, not just at the weekends. So there's been a content series that's been created where we actually understand what people are eating, how they're training, what they're bench pressing. Some things are really informative. Some things are just kind of light touch and engaging. And this builds fandom. This builds kind of connection with the league. It builds connections with clubs and players. And it's become a really important attribute of our content generation machine moving forwards. Like Rob said, sellout finals, 3 in a row. That has massively helped us commercially, but also it proves that people want to watch this product. The clubs adapting and using the branding system for the league for their own identities as well, and embedding that into kind of the wider portfolio. 93 games in one single home. 3 sellout crowds at the finals. And actually, we have sellout crowds during the course of the year as well. And the ambition is to build occupancy from 82% onwards, upwards. So that's how we create fans during the full game experience. 90% in social media. And the fonts haven't loaded, but loads of positive uplift. So what's next? New partners, really important new partners. Red Bull, like Rob said, really has brought a lot of eyes into the game. And now we can really lean into our ferocious kind of strategic positioning and actually show that case.
Yeah, so these guys have, Red Bull bought Newcastle, and they've just transformed that club, and they're on an incredible journey. Dyson have just bought into Bath Rugby, massive injection of cash in there. They're building a new stadium, so lots of great news. And Exeter have just last week been sold to Canny Holdings or Black Knight. They're the same guys that own Bournemouth, and they've got some really serious ambitions about making that the biggest club in the south.
I'm conscious we're at time, so we have new sponsors in the junior ranks as well. which has been really helps us promote the junior grassroots as well. They're using the same identity, they're bringing it together, and we can start speaking and connecting with them. We have new content. I won't play this. But we have new content which is about kind of the insights of the players, what they're on, what they're going on week in, week out. So fill stadiums, hero our star players, really understand we have an amazing assets at our disposal. So leverage those assets and kind of communicate through those and grow the sport. Grow the sport potentially with new teams joining, but also grow it across grassroots and across all our audience base moving forwards. So grassroots first, both male and female. Fill the stadiums because that's where the experience lives and breathes. Experiment with other tactics from other sports, away ends, which is a new proposition for this year. Really hero our star players, but not just on game day, or throughout the entire week. And Henry Pollock has become one of those kind of heroes that people are starting to follow. Understand that this is great, and we can lean on this and leverage this moving forwards. And pack the schedule with stuff that people want to engage week in, week out, from the Monday all the way through to the Sunday and back again.
So it started with a brand, it started with the insight, but it's only been delivered through collaboration and making things happen. And it's not just TNT, ITV, it's Gallagher, our title partner, but it's also the RFU, who we've got a fantastic relationship now, and PWR, the women's game, which is also in growth. And we've got a really strong strategic relationship with them. So rugby has definitely had a few years of challenges, but we're building some strong momentum, and it's all built on the insight that was built through this project.
Thank you very much.